So by now you have seen Act 1, which means that's only right that now we talk about Act 2. Let's jump into that right now, folks. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Today, we're back here for Part 2, Act 2 of the Kanye Trilogy, jeen-yuhs. This act is called Purpose. Now, I gotta say, because, after Part 1, we start to think, now what? Now where do we go? We know at some point we want to get modern. We want to get the yesterday's news on the documentary, because ever since he's came on the scene, he's always filled with news headlines and all sorts of different things. But we got a long journey before we actually get to the current stuff. So now what would we talk about? And we obviously got to talk about what I feel is the part where most people started to get on board with him. And that was after his very severe car accident that changed everything. But to really go behind the scenes to understand everything that was happening with that, the footage of him being in a dental office and the surgery options and all sorts of different things was special. And also with everything that we learned from the first part, the first act, of him trying to get this deal with Rockefeller, to realize that even having a deal still meant more challenges and more proving. We got all of that here. So we got a bunch to talk about. So let's get into that right now. But here we go. So like I said, Kanye is now signed, and this is the moment where we have to see not only him just being signed, but now, he happened to really take his vision and utilize all his tools and resources to pull it off here. So like, he has his idea. We always know he has granular ideas, but now this really involves other people buying into what he wants to do, because even with him being signed, he is still being considered a producer. And it seems like challenge after challenge, wall after wall for him. But as I said, in this journey, this is where I truly feel like when everybody really started to jump aboard of the fandom of Kanye West. But this was the journey of him making the classic album, the legendary album at this point, in College Dropout. And the challenges with Rockefeller and Dame Dash and getting the album release date and all sorts of other different things. He broke it all down. But at this point, he really could not rely on the label, because they had not gave him a budget. They had not gave him a release date. So he really had to go back out as if he was an independent artist again. He just had the credibility of being on Rockefeller label, and he had to do it himself, like Thanos. He had to put the Infinity Gauntlet on, and he had to assemble all of the Infinity Stones in order to reach his ultimate goal, serenity. But yeah, in Act 2, this really focused around 2003 and 2004. And this is truly the journey of putting together College Dropout till it dropped and to him hitting the Grammy. So it was a year journey, but it was a lot that happened in this year. And he even said, even being signed, he felt like he was still on the sidelines, which is a really crazy thing to think. You're on one of the hottest labels back in his time, and you still don't feel like you're in the limelight. And it just really fueled him to continue to grind harder and harder and harder. And as I said, he was still known as a producer, but he's a rapper, and he had to keep telling people that, stop calling me a producer. Yes, I make beats, but that's not who I am, and that's really was a lot of him proving himself over and over and over. But eventually he started to shift his focus a little bit more precise, instead of just being a rapper, but he wanted to be the best dressed rapper. And I gotta say, in that era, Kanye really changed the game in dressing. Like, everybody started to get a new style. The Backpack Kids era came about. The very vibrant colors and all sorts of different things came about in terms of the fashion choices that Pharrell and Kanye had made back in the day. And then, when it came out to the promotional work and aspects for College Dropout, that changed everything. So, but yeah, like I said, it went from him continuing to prove himself. He had a studio session with Jay-Z, which was really cool. And Jay-Z co-signing for him was really the ultimate endorsement. And again, he was already signed, but still Jay-Z doing that still helped him out a lot in terms of moving forward with everything he had to do. And again, this is when Dame Dash ran Rockefeller, so it wasn't Jay-Z. Jay-Z was just another person on the label, but like still, Jay-Z being one of the hottest rapper, if not the hottest rapper at the time, getting that cosign was very big for Kanye West. But again, this is his debut album, and this is where everything that he dreamed about, this is where it all came down to, getting this album done. But before getting that album done, he was assigned to go to LA to work on a project with Petey Crack. And that's where he got in that car accident, leaving the studio late at night that caused him to crack his jaw in 3 places. And again, you get the video footage from him being at the dentist, some of the procedures that he went through, some of the consultation that he went through, the dialogue between him and the doctors, because, his whole focus is like, I can't have my mouth wired for this long. I got a video to shoot because he needs this video. Little do you know it or not, Through the Wire was not only just a song that was really relevant to everything that's happening, but it's very important and pivotal for him to get this to be successful, because he needed this in order to make everybody buy into him, including Dame Dash. So like, he could not have a mishaps such as this, such as his mouth being wired shut so that he can't even perform or do his music video. Like, he needed this for everything. But it was really, really cool how this whole dental procedure thing started to provoke more and more ideas for him to say like, whoa, wait, we can use this. We can use this for the video. Like, this video, that this documentary that you're shooting, we can use all of this for the video. And like, if you remember the first time you seen Through the Wire and how just game changing that was, it was genius for him to be able to sit back in one of the most critical moments of his life to say like, oh wait, we can make content here. We can make this bad into a good. And that's what he did, So like, seeing him put together the video ideas was so crazy. It was also interesting too that his mom, he knew upon getting some of the metal removed from his mouth that his mom wanted it. So he was like, hey, you can't throw that away. My mom collects this type of stuff. So that was really cool. There was also a funny moment where he went to a diner. Obviously he's still having some oral issues, so he couldn't really eat. For whatever it's worth, he had to be really particular about how his food was served to him. But there were some college students in there, and they didn't know who he was. But like, the whole thing of like somebody pitching like, this guy's gonna be the next big thing. It was cool how the folks were kind of like brushing it off, and little did they know they were sitting in the room with Kanye West at a diner at the very, very moment that he was about to explode on the scene. And they just brushed it off. So that was funny that they had that. And I can imagine those folks going back saying, yeah, that was me. But man, you didn't play that scene right. But anyway, with that being said, this was, again, him really putting together College Dropout. So you have to think about all the classic songs that was on it. Him recording slow jams with Jamie Foxx was so fire. So fire. Seeing Jamie in the booth, well, I think Jamie's one of the most talented people out there, period. Whether it's on the big screen, whether it's musically, he's talented. And him and Kanye recording that and putting it together, oh man, that was fire. It was fire. But I have to say, this is the very important part that I didn't know. They recorded this at Jamie Foxx's house because Jamie Foxx had a studio. Rockefeller didn't give him a budget, so he didn't have money to essentially go and have studio time. They didn't give him, an open budget for him to do such. So he had to borrow time from other artists in order to get this done, as if he was independent, which was very, very cool. So yeah, there was a ton of cameos, especially anybody involved with the album. You had Ludacris, you had Pharrell. Pharrell giving him the next biggest second endorsement he could have got. Seeing Pharrell's reaction to Through the Wire for the first time was insane. And Pharrell comes back and tells him that he is his favorite artist. I would have lost my mind after that. And then Pharrell gave a really cool monologue in this that was really dope as well too. But yeah, beyond that, you had D-Ray Davis, you had Mos Def, you had Donda, of course, his mom, who was just along for the ride the entire time. She's truly special. And then there was also a really cool moment when Donda met Diddy. That was dope. That was definitely dope. But anyway, through all of this, he still happened to get regular checkups and potential procedures for his mouth. And it's cool that with everything that kind of set him back, with the label not really fully being on board, not giving him the tools that he need, the promotion, the money and everything to go forward, then the car accident, it almost feels like the momentum that he built up was all for nothing because of all these setbacks. So when the dentist proposed that he needed a procedure to really help with his mouth, his jaw, he said no, because he knew this was the time to strike. So he had to get this album done, and he forwent the surgery in order to do so. And then when you see him really putting together the vision, he's always had this Sunday service mindset. Sunday service, you know, his orchestra, his choir that he uses, his gospel choir that he uses. He's always had that mindset, because seeing him putting together the choir to sing the chorus for Through the Wire was so good. And look, $33,000 later, he got the video done to get some buzz, so that the buzz would create buzz to Dame, to prove to Dame, so he can get that album release date. And it all came to work. This is all truly a mission of him trying to get Dame to see his full vision, to provide him a release date and a budget. It's just insane that he had to do this, but here we are. And I gotta say, like, you know, all of everything that they shot in this was really cool, and seeing it all come together, and just, you know, it was just special seeing so much behind the scene footage of the grind and the hustle for him to get to that point. And I will say, towards the end, it was kind of heartbreaking that Coodie and Kanye had started to grow apart, because Kanye had started to really grasp the fame, and he kind of left his day one behind. But to some extent, they you know, that was just a temporary thing, because they did come back together, because when Kanye had to drop maybe his biggest song ever, in Jesus Walk, he had 2 videos shot for that, and he didn't like them, so he had to go back to his day one in Coodie to get this done. And it went from Jesus Walk to going to the Grammys, and it was just on and popping from there. And you remember the Grammys, that's when he gave that very epic speech that if I did not win, people always wanted to know if he didn't win, what would he do, because they know how irate and crazy he could be at times. And he said, well, I guess we'll never know, because he won. But that was 2004, and we certainly knows many more moments that he's had on stages going forward. So, but I can't wait for Act 3. This was intense. The preview for Act 3 is definitely showing a lot of current stuff. I mean, all the way up into him getting his Donda album, it looks like we're going to be getting. Obviously, the thing with Taylor Swift. You know, Kim's got to be in there somewhere. The Yeezys got to be in there somewhere. So, you know, we're getting pretty current with some of this stuff. But, man, for Act 2, this was really, really good. And, again, just really making me go back down nostalgia lane in terms of what I really fell in love with Kanye West as an artist, man. He's so talented, and this documentary has done a good job in really getting me connected back to that. So, but hey, can't even tell you. If you already checked out Act 1, I know you're in for Act 2. So stick around, because we'll be back for Act 3 review very, very, very soon.